All right, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. Today, I'm here to share some actions that were taken during City Council that will strengthen our post-pandemic recovery, ensure the continued strong leadership of two of our city departments, and create a safer and healthier Chicago. First, I'm excited to announce that the City Council has approved an ordinance that will extend the expanded outdoor dining program through 2022. As many of you will recall, the expanded outdoor dining program was implemented in June of 2020 as our city was opening up to ensure the continued operations of our restaurants and bars while keeping employees and customers safe. The program was originally set to expire at the end of this month, and I think by all accounts it was a huge success, allowing restaurants and bars to quickly set up outside seating on public streets and sidewalks and serve customers safely throughout the pandemic. The ordinance passed today will extend this innovative initiative through the 2022 calendar year, which will ensure that residents and visitors alike will be able to continue outdoor dining options, bolster the recovery of our city's hospitality and dining industries, and overall strengthen the local economies of our neighborhoods. The program will also continue to be administered by CDOT, BACP, and DCASE, which leads me to the second announcement I'm excited to share with you all today. Standing before you are our newly minted commissioners, Ken Meyer of BACP and Aaron Harkey of DCASE, and congratulations, commissioners. These two hardworking individuals who are joining me this afternoon have done incredible work both before and during this pandemic to enhance and enrich Chicago's businesses and our creative communities. Let me tell you a little bit more about them. Commissioner Meyer has served as BACP's first deputy since 2016 and as acting commissioner since July. In both of these roles, he has worked tirelessly to fulfill the needs of our small businesses, consumers, and workers, and as well as deliver economic relief to businesses in need. With his experience as well as more than 25 years of service to the City of Chicago under his belt, I have no doubt that Commissioner Meyer will continue the department's long track record of success and advocating on behalf of our workers and businesses across our city. And speaking of advocating, DCASE Commissioner Aaron Harkey is no stranger to speaking up for the needs of our creative communities. Not only does she hold 20 years of experience working in the nonprofit and government sectors, helping individuals and communities succeed through the arts, but through her work at DCASE, she has enriched our city's artistic vitality and cultural vibrancy. Commissioner Harkey served the City of Chicago in multiple roles, including Projects Administrator, Deputy Commissioner for Programming, First Deputy Commissioner, and now most recently as acting commissioner. In these positions, as well as her dual role as senior policy advisor for arts and culture in the mayor's office, Commissioner Harkey has done phenomenal work to foster the development of our city's nonprofit arts sector, independent working artists, and for-profit arts businesses, and has helped to root the recovery of our arts and culture community at the heart of our overarching post-pandemic recovery strategy. For these reasons and more, I have full confidence that Commissioner Harkey will build on DCASE's long history of making the arts accessible and lucrative for our residents. Commissioner Harkey and Commissioner Meyer, congratulations on being formally appointed to lead two of our city's most important departments. I look forward to working with both of you. Third, City Council also passed a number of other measures that will make it easier for residents and businesses to find stability. The first of these is a development plan for Glen, a 91,297 unit residential building that will be located on our northwest side. Nearly 60 of these units will be set aside for affordable housing, which is about 20%. And the project's ideal location near O'Hare Airport, which remains one of the city's largest single employers, will give O'Hare employees another housing option close to work, and create 228 construction jobs and 15 permanent jobs. As a result, Glen has the potential to fuel one of our city's key economic engines, as well as put us that much closer to fully addressing the effects of longstanding racial and economic segregation. I want to thank all those involved. I want to particularly thank Commissioner Navarro of the Department of Housing, and I want to thank the leaders in organized labor who are also very supportive of this measure and help get it over the threshold today. Next, City Council also passed the sportsbook ordinance, which will allow sports gambling facilities within Wrigley Field, Guaranteed Rate, Soldier Field, the United Center, and Wintrust, or at sites within 5 blocks of these stadiums. Some of you may remember sportsbook was authorized in 2019 by the state legislature. We did the research over and over, engaged with aldermen and other stakeholders, and looked at it from truly every possible angle. The fact that it is passed today before City Council shows that the argument that this, quote, won't be good for the city, end quote, or that it's, quote, rushed, end quote, are ultimately the minority and losing opinion. This will be a great endeavor for our city that will undoubtedly stimulate economic development, and I'm glad that we can make this happen. I'd also like to bring up another measure that should have passed today, but was unfortunately deferred and published. This is an ordinance that would give our Chief Procurement Officer, Eileen Velasquez, the ability to purchase chemicals necessary to keep our city's drinking water clean in the event of an emergency. We need to ensure that all of our residents, no matter what zip code, have access to clean water, period. It's a vital necessity and a basic right. And as we're still in the midst of the pandemic, it's absolutely vital that the city government be able to act swiftly and effectively to provide these essential services to our residents. And the emergency was clear: supply chain issues and others, which is why we brought this matter to the attention of the City Council. And I hope that despite the tactics of Alderman Spiel and Lopez, we need to ensure that our residents have clean drinking water, period. That's why today I signed an executive order authorizing the Chief Procurement Officer to quickly secure supplies that are essential to preserve the public health and safety in the city, including chemicals necessary to ensure the cleanliness of our drinking water. Now, to be clear, I always want to work with our City Council where I can. But where there's an emergency, as every single member of the City Council knew, including Alderman Spiel and Lopez, I simply cannot stand by and let gamesmanship get in the way of progress. That's why I signed this executive order today. I look forward to working with my colleagues in City Council to pass the ordinance in January. Finally, I'd like to share 2 measures that were introduced during City Council today, and it will further put Chicago on the right track toward becoming a safer and healthier place. The first is a secondhand phone ordinance drafted by BACP under the leadership of Commissioner Meyer. This will enhance the regulation of secondhand dealers and pawnbrokers to further protect against the purchase and sale of stolen cell phones. By raising penalties for dealing in stolen cell phones and introducing a license revocation provision for repeated violations, this proposed ordinance stands to further disincentivize people and businesses from participating in this legal activity. It will help enhance our public safety efforts. Bottom line here, folks, is we want to kill off the market for stolen cell phones. The second measure that was introduced during City Council earlier today is a beverages served at restaurants kids ordinance, led by our Department of Public Health. This would require that only healthy, non-sugary beverages be marketed as part of kids' meals at restaurants. Importantly, parents and guardians would still be able to ask for sugary drinks if they wish, but not given as a matter of course. And overall, this ordinance would help make the development of healthy eating habits and drinking habits more accessible for residents of all ages. Taken together, the announcements coming out of today's City Council meeting all serve to make Chicago a safer, healthier, and more vibrant place for residents and visitors of all ages. I want to thank my colleagues in City Council for reviewing and passing these important measures today. I look forward to our continued collaboration, and now I am happy to take your questions.
All right, here we're going to ID. Oh, go ahead. Thanks.
Hi, Mayor. I'm wondering if I could get your reaction to the Thompson Center sale and to tell me a little bit more about the city's plans for helping older businesses along LaSalle Street to kind of get up to modern standards of other office buildings.
Okay. Can't block the cameras. Got to sit down. Okay? We're good? Good? All right. All right. I'm just getting the details of the Thompson Center, so I'll reserve comment once I have an opportunity to look more specifically at the proposed plans. I've seen the renderings, but haven't gotten all the details yet, so I don't want to comment and get ahead of that. LaSalle Street, well, really, it's LaSalle Street and State Street. Let's talk about both of those. We are very focused on making sure that those vacant businesses get restored, that we've got occupancy, and we're working with the owners and the property managers. I think there's a lot of creative things that we can do and give some businesses that maybe not be able to afford a long-term lease the opportunity to be able to have pop-up stores and other opportunities. So we're working with folks on both fronts and the Loop Alliance and others to see if we can maximize those opportunities.
And can you give us any update on Alderman Carrie Austin's condition?
I don't really think it's appropriate for me to comment on that. We wish her Godspeed, but I'll let you ask her or her team any comments about her condition.
Thanks, Mayor. Leah Hope from ABC.
I was actually just going to, I'm good. I was just going to follow up on Alderman Austin because it was, there was a lot of ground covered. Sometimes city council is very contentious, but in those moments when an alderman was in distress, things shut down. I just wondered if you could comment, whatever side you're on, whatever the issues are, all of you spend a lot of time together, and I know you were with Alderman Austin until she left.
Thank you for that question. I think sometimes there's too much attention paid to the gamesmanship and the politics and the back and forth. I know that makes for interesting articles in the media, but I think what you saw today was an outpouring of our humanity. People rallied immediately. Every single alderman was there, was concerned, and Alderman Austin's been through a lot. And, as I said, I wish her Godspeed, but I think really it spoke to the humanity that we can never lose, even as public officials, even as we're going through challenging issues and contentious issues at times. We can have our passion, but we can never lose our humanity. And I think you saw really an outpouring of that today, which I was gratified by.
Craig Dellamore, WBBM.
Hello, Mayor.
Hello, Craig. How are you?
All right. How are you?
Good.
Regarding the emergency procurement issue, what do you say to aldermen who were concerned that what's being asked for is actually broader than what's needed, that they're worried that this is sort of giving a blank check?
Well, we certainly heard that feedback, and we amended the ordinance accordingly. So the one that got voted out, a budget, I think, reflected the changes that were made based upon the feedback. I mean, that's what the legislative process is all about. There's give and take that happens. We got feedback, we made the adjustments, and we moved forward. But the reality is we have to make sure that we have chlorine. Chlorine prices have gone through the roof. This is what really necessitated this emergency action. And I can't stand by and let whatever was motivating those two aldermen derail us from doing what's the right thing. And I think people got that. It was a matter that was actually going to pass, I think, overwhelmingly. But now we're going to get to the same place through an executive order, and hopefully we'll be able to get it voted out and passed in January when we come back.
And on the kids' meals, for people who are often worried about nanny state and being told what they can and can't do, what is an acceptable drink? I mean, some of us were talking earlier. If you ask for apple juice, that's a sugary drink. Well,
but not high as, what's happening, and I think the concern that public health had is that those kids' meals, were reflexively being given, really high caloric, very high sugary drinks, like sodas that we would drink, like Slurpee type drinks. So, what we want is to give kids healthy things: water, starting, milk, juice, And obviously, if the parents decide that they want something different, then that's their prerogative to be able to do that. But we want to do everything we can. You know, everybody knows that we've got serious issues with childhood obesity, and we're concerned about that. And I think the Department of Public Health has taken the right steps. Now, Dr. Arty and her team will testify about it when the hearing is held in January. But this is an appropriate step for us to take.
All right, Justin Lawrence, the Block Club.
Hi, Mayor. A new neighborhood group was formed in Bucktown to kind of fund and hire private security, armed private security to patrol their neighborhood at night. I know you've called on business owners on the Mag Mile to step up their own security, but is this something you would support, or is this a good idea to have armed security, privately funded, patrolling residential neighborhoods?
I don't know enough details about it, so I don't want to get out ahead of myself. But there will be nobody patrolling our streets other than the Chicago Police Department.
But they'll be on the streets. They'll be walking up and down the streets.
As I said, there will be no one patrolling our streets other than the Chicago Police Department. I certainly recognize and respect the desire of some of these businesses to have security. That's happening really all across the country, particularly in light of what cities like Chicago have been experiencing. But patrolling our streets is the sole province of the Chicago Police Department.
All right. So setting aside, the terminology, they'll still be
no, but the terminology
security.
matters.
I'll
it
give
does
you that.
matter.
But they'll still be, on those residential streets, walking around looking for criminal activity, responding to criminal activity.
No, they will not. That is the job of the Chicago Police
right.
Department.
So I guess how do you ensure that working with the...
I need to know more about what their specific plan and scope is, but the patrolling streets, responding to crime, that's the job of the Chicago Police Department, and they do it effectively. We're not going to start, because people can afford it, standing up a group of, I think I've said enough. There's a slippery slope here, and I'm very concerned about that.
All right, we'll go to Greg Pratt from the Tribune.
Good afternoon, Mayor. As far as your former corporation counsel has written a commentary, Mark Flussner, criticizing this, both the settlement and yourself. As far as the settlement goes, the corp counsel says it's excessive, that the case would not go to trial because it's a weak case, and he's critical of you for settling it for the amount that you settled it. And I wanted. That's the first part of it. And the second part is he's critical of you on a personal level. He says that you are that you don't have respect for officers, for workers, for teachers and police. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond to what Flussner said.
Well, I will say this. I don't typically comment about former employees. But I asked for Mark Flussner's resignation because I utterly lost confidence in his ability to function as the corporation counsel. There were a number of things leading up to the decision, certainly starting with the fact that he authorized without much consideration the filing of injunctive action against a company without any consultation or even giving me notice that it had happened. The fact that throughout the course of that week, he repeatedly said disparaging things related to Ms. Young. And fundamentally, what was clear is he just didn't see her. He didn't value her experience in that moment, as we all saw in that video. And frankly, the fact is, for whether it's because she's a woman, whether it's because she's a woman of color, he didn't value her experience as he needed to, just as a basic human being. But what became clear to me is, given his conduct, given the comments that he made openly, that he had lost the confidence of the senior staff, he had lost the confidence of others across city government, he lost the confidence of a vast majority of alder people and members of the public. And it was clear to me that I could not trust his judgment and counsel, and that's why I asked for his resignation. Now, he'll continue to say whatever he says. God bless him, that's his right under our Constitution. But I think it's important that, first and foremost, we recognize what Ms. Young went through and the trauma that she experienced. And I think the proof is in the pudding. Unanimously, which rarely happens on matters of settlements, the city council affirmed the agreement that had been reached with Ms. Young and her counsel to pay her $2.9 million. And anybody that says that something substantially less, I think, again, just demonstrates and underscores the point that I made, which is he didn't see her, he didn't value her experience, and that's why he's no longer the corporation counsel.
Thank you on that, Mayor. And to piggyback off of Justin's question about I understand that you want more details about the Bucktown thing. What's interesting to me is that you've spoken out against vigilantism in Bridgeport during the civil unrest. I'm not saying this is the same type of thing, but there are neighborhoods like in Lincoln Park where people hire security and they drive around and they check stuff out. How will you walk that line between people are concerned about their security and anything goes, they're trying to do some...
People are concerned about their security. I'm concerned about their security. It's the number one issue, almost without peer, in our city right now. We're going to end the year in a place that nobody wants to be at when it comes to homicides and shooting. We are going to end the year at 25-year lows on every other crime that we track. And we are comparatively doing in a better place than some other cities, but every major city in the country and some that never really see significant crime are experiencing it this year. Now, the fact of the matter is that's cold comfort to people in neighborhoods who fear for their personal safety, and I totally understand and get that, and I'll be speaking more about that relatively soon, but there is a fine line. So I got to know more facts. But fundamentally, the responsibility under state law, under local law, for patrolling our streets lies exclusively with the Chicago Police Department.
Thanks, Mayor. Alex Nitkin, Daily Line.
Hi, Mayor. On the Glen Star Apartments, Alderman Napolitano was saying how he thinks this is going to set a precedent. Is it your hope that this does set a precedent or send a message that your administration is going after aldermanic prerogative and zoning, or was this really just a one-time exception?
No, I think you missed the point entirely. This is something that was an imperative for our city. As I said on the floor of the city council, we have to be competitive at our airport. It's one of our most important economic assets. And what we are hearing from employers, from our great leader of our airports, Jamie Reed, and also from the unions that are out at the airport, is that their workers are having a difficult time getting to and from the airport with commutes that in many instances are an hour plus, and in some instances 2 hours just one way. So that is something that we have to be responsive to. So it's not a local issue, it's a city issue. O'Hare is important. We need to remain competitive, and we can't do that if our companies at the airport can't find workers because there's no affordable housing. The second piece of this is absolutely, if the precedent that it sets is there must be affordable housing in every area of a city, I'm all for that. We have to break the grip of segregation. And this is one way that we do it. We put affordable units everywhere. And again, I don't want to be disrespectful to the alderman. I certainly don't want to be disrespectful to those who oppose this project. I went out there myself personally. I walked that site to see what the concerns were. I came away from that visit with confidence that this was the right project and it needed to move forward.
On the sweet beverage ordinance.
I'm sorry?
On the soda ordinance,
Yes,
sweet beverage. We saw a couple of years ago the sort of lobbying and PR powers of the soda industry with the county soda tax. I know that's different, but I'm curious if you've talked to IRA or sort of industry groups to get the sense of where they stand on this, and I guess what makes you confident that this can overcome any kind of resistance from the industry?
Well, what you're talking about is apples and oranges. That was a tax, and frankly, that wasn't well thought out, wasn't well rolled out, and all sorts of people had problems with it. This is saying when you're serving a child, serve them something that's healthy. Give them that as the first option, pure and simple. So I'm sure there will be some that oppose it. That's okay. This is the right thing to do.
All right, Aaron Hegarty from the Daily Line. Thanks, Ash.
Hi there.
Hi there.
Alderman Daniel Espada and nearly 20 other aldermen today introduced a resolution calling for the city to create a pilot program to bring publicly available bathrooms to the city. Do you think the city is currently lacking in public bathrooms, and is that a program or initiative you would support?
Well, because I haven't seen the ordinance yet, I don't want to comment on it.
But is the city lacking in public bathrooms?
It's not an issue that's been brought to my attention, and here's what I'm focused on every single day: public safety, pandemic, economic recovery. Obviously, there are other issues of importance and interest, but those are the three issues I wake up thinking about, working on throughout the course of the day, and go to bed at night thinking about and worrying about. Those three: public safety, pandemic, economic recovery.
I mean, yeah, during the pandemic, it was shown, there wasn't a place for people who are on house to use the bathroom because they couldn't, go into...
I don't know that that's correct. I really don't know that that's correct.
Heather Sharon, WTTW.
Thanks. With the continued surge of COVID-19, have you made a decision on whether to require proof of vaccination or a negative test to enter restaurants or other public spaces where masks can't be worn?
We'll be making an announcement about any further mitigation efforts that we plan to take soon.
Would you encourage Chicagoans not to attend large gatherings, given what you see every morning with the data of the COVID surge, along with evidence today that Omicron seems to be spreading undetected in the United States?
I haven't heard any evidence that it's undetected. We've detected it all across the country.
Just that it's not properly sort of showing how far it's already spread.
Well, I don't know that that's true either. As you're aware, our Department of Public Health, in conjunction with many other partners, Rush Hospital being one of them, does extensive genomic surveillance. We're looking at the data that's coming in from testing, from hospitals, from doctors, and we're also doing testage of sewage to detect what's out there generally, but also specifically with various strains of COVID. So I'm not sure that that's accurate. What I would say that I'm focused on and repeat every time I'm in front of a podium: get your vaccine. If you haven't been vaccinated, get your vaccination. If you haven't got your booster, get your booster. We know that those are getting the vaccine, getting boosters are the most sure way to protect yourself, protect your family, protect your coworkers, protect our city.
Back to Anjanette Young. In her lawyer statement today, she encouraged the city council to support the revised search warrant policies. Is there any possibility that you would encourage the city council to take another look at that, and particularly when it comes to no-knock warrants?
Well, the city council doesn't typically dictate policy for the police department. So that would be a very unusual departure. And as you all know, we're under something called a consent decree. Every policy or practice that the police department does is scrutinized heavily by the independent monitor, the Attorney General's office, stakeholders that are in the lawsuits that are pending get to weigh in, the judge gets to weigh in. And since we learned about the unfortunate circumstances with Ms. Young, the search warrant policy has gone through at least 2 iterations that I'm aware of. One that I specifically directed before I knew about Ms. Young, because I was seeing this reporting on the so-called wrong raids, and then another round since it's been signed off on by all of those folks. So I think we have a very good policy. Certainly, we haven't seen. I'll just say that it's been the subject of a lot of discussion and debate by all the stakeholders that are involved with the consent decree. So. And I've had a lot of dialogue with the sponsors of that ordinance and asked for very specific ideas around what else would you like to see change that isn't already reflected in the current policy. So we're open to the discussion, but the policy's been in place for some time, and I feel confident that it's the right policy.
Ted from Chicago Magazine.
Okay, hello, Mayor. I think everybody can see you from back here now. There's been talk for decades about extending the red line. Does this new federal infrastructure money finally give us a chance to do that? And if we do it, what would be the timeline and the cost and the benefits to the far south side?
Well, that's certainly top of my list for the dollars that are coming from the federal government. That's certainly a conversation I took with me during my recent trip to Washington. And as for what the benefits of to the community, it'll be exponentially transformative to those South Side communities that right now don't have great transportation options. Extending the red line down to Art Girl Garden, I think it's 4 or 5 different stops, gives us an opportunity to connect those residents to the rest of the city so they don't have to take trains, planes, and automobiles just to get to the downtown area. I mean, it'll be a game changer. In addition to that, it gives us the opportunity to think about economic development around those stops. We're very bullish on ETOD. And so I think this gives us real opportunity on each of those stops to revitalize those communities, build up commerce, restaurants. Really, the sky is the limit. But yes, the number one priority for us as a city is extension of the red line with the transportation dollars. And I'm excited that I think finally, we're going to get there.
Any idea how much it would cost and how long it would take?
I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but we can get those to you. It's not a short-term project. It's a pretty massive lift. It'll take some time, but I'm hopeful that we're going to see shovels in the ground starting next year.
Are there any other big infrastructure projects? Maybe that's number one, but what's maybe
lead
2 or 3?
Lines. Lead service lines, huge issue for us. As you know, lead service lines were mandated here in the city of Chicago through 1986. We probably have the largest constellation of lead service lines of any city in the country. So another huge priority for us is lead service lines. Also another issue that I talked at length about with the folks in Washington, D.C., and notably Mitch Landrieu and his team.
Thanks a lot, Mayor. That's a wrap, everyone. Have a great day.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you.